All right. Good evening, guys. This is the City Community Development and Recreation Committee meeting. I don't know if everybody, it was my bad. I thought that I had sent the minutes earlier, like way last week. And so then I realized I didn't. I sent them a little last minute last night. So I don't know if anybody got the chance to look at the minutes from last month's meeting. But they were sent in there. If anybody wants to let me know if they have any problems with it once they have a second to look over it, or if they did have a second to look over it. All right, now we can move on to the agenda. Did anybody have a second to look at the agenda? It's pretty short. Try to keep it pretty short.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So first, we'll go ahead and start off with the Homeowners Assistance Fund. So last month, we started talking about this. In case anybody doesn't recall, it's the money that's coming from the renter's fee, or it's money that we have in the general fund that we have extra money because of the renter's fee, that will be applied to a homeowners assistance fund. And we are just trying to come up with parameters for that, so that way people can apply for it. And I actually talked to Mr. Mosby about this a couple weeks ago. And he suggested, and I really liked the suggestion because I know we were talking about what committee or what organization would approve the applications for the fund or for the assistance or for the grant. And he suggested the CRA because it's a Community Reinvestment Act, and the committee with that because they're already kind of there to decide that kind of stuff. So it would just be an easy way to kind of add it to that since it's already pretty applicable. Does anybody have any suggestions or any compliments on that? Yeah, Mary Jo.
I'm twisting through my head the legalities between having, like, how many council members are on the CRA?
I think I am. I don't know.
So I guess where I'm going with that is because this is technically it's city money. So I don't know where the legality falls in between outside people determining where city money goes. And
Okay.
I don't know that one way or the other. And maybe that's a question for Mr. Dieters.
Right. And that's actually another good point. So I was supposed to, after last meeting, which I did reach out to him to ask him questions. And then there were a bunch of other questions about the Tree City. And then I had asked him those questions. And then I was supposed to talk to him on a Tuesday. And then I got really busy with work. And those are just giving context, not excuses. So I dropped the ball on that. But I will talk to him about that. But yeah, I guess that would be a good question if we are even legally allowed to use the CRA. So, okay, I'll have to ask him about that. Let me write that down.
And I guess my only reason for even questioning it is because it's technically city money.
Right. There are two, sorry, to answer your question though, you and I are on the Reinvestment Act housing appointees. You and I are on it.
Perfect.
Okay, so yeah, let me ask Mr. Dieters about that.
So aside of that, have we nailed down the specifics of who we want to, like, what are the parameters if they qualify, kind of thing?
Right. So that's what I was gonna talk about next. Last time, what we kind of talked about was the homeowners would have to stay in the property for 5 years or more, that we could possibly, and actually Miss Sixteen so kindly pointed out to me that I was completely saying the one of the options wrong last time for the possibly us incentivizing the current property owners to move and sell to long-term owners, that legally would be pretty fuzzy. And so she pointed that out to me last time, or she contacted me separately and pointed that out to me, and I really appreciate that. So
I just want to clarify that. So having had a background or having a background in real estate, we can't incentivize property owners to sell. When they put their properties up for sale, you can't choose specifically who you want to sell to, right? Especially if you put it on the market. You would have to give everyone an opportunity. You specifically can't choose.
Right. So last time we'd kind of talked about that, but just drop that idea because it wouldn't work anyway. But the other ideas that we talked about were just a flat rate for homeowners, or kind of saying you get X amount plus this percent of your down payment or something up to whatever amount. So we hadn't really determined anything, no. And then we also talked about possibly it just being for first-time homeowners. That is kind of what we discussed last time.
So I really like the first-time homeowners thing. That's my opinion.
Okay.
So the other thing that I was tossing around, or actually somebody suggested it to me, is when the payment actually occurs. So let's say, and I know you probably, you know what? Would council members even qualify? Well, no, because we already live here. So if it's first time home buyers, we wouldn't. I just went through that in my head. But
well, I would be a first time homeowner though.
Oh.
Yeah. But either way, I mean, but just like for if you were curious.
Right.
Technically somebody on council could.
So outside of that, so we don't look shady, outside of that, it was mentioned to me that when we do this, we should have it stipulated that we, let's say it's $2,500, that money goes to the bank for the down payment, and we don't hand a check to Marjorie for the payment.
Okay. I like that. All right.
And should we, can we say they have to be pre-approved? Ms. Dukestein, is there any kind of parameters around that you're aware of?
No, not that I'm aware of. I mean, a lot of programs do say they give stipulations in which the person's receiving the assistance would have to go through. So saying yielding a parameter like having to be pre-approved doesn't seem out of the question or lawfully anything wrong with that.
Right. And last time I think we even talked about having them have to be pre-approved, and then we kind of thought about it and said like, okay, well, they probably would be pre-approved anyway if they are like, because I guess that would just kind of depend on when we're allowing people to apply for it. Do we allow them to apply for it when they've already kind of signed for the house and now it's almost like a reimbursement almost? Or would it be like hey, I'm looking for a house in North College Hill, can I get
see that? I think where you're going is the difference between us giving the person the money and giving the bank the money.
Right. So if we're giving the bank the money, then that would mean that they're already pre-approved, right?
No, well, it would be closing, right?
So yeah, it would have to be those that we know are closing.
Right. Okay.
On a home, it would be beyond pre-approval.
Right.
It would actually be home. It would have to be established, which is, I mean, may get some aversion to this, but I think it could be first-time home buyers, even those that have already purchased their homes within a certain time frame. the amount of, I mean, it doesn't have to be down payment assistance, because if they've already chosen North College Hill, that would be an incentive to like just home ownership retention. But so I'm saying it could be inclusive, but not exclusive to maybe a certain time frame if we want to stick to new home buyers or first time home buyers, maybe a time frame, because maybe somebody missed it, or you just don't want to. I personally don't feel like it would be useful to exclude. But so many times closings don't work out and people have to move on either on the seller's end or the buyer's end, both ends. That's not their fault. But if we have that monies out there incentivizing people to buy within North College Hill, which is what we want more home ownership. We can't limit, well, I shouldn't say we can't, we should not limit it to such a small group as only first time home buyers. Like we need to have some parameters for retention in there. Just my 2 cents.
Here's what I was thinking too, kind of along the same lines, but a little bit different. So I've been talking to a couple people about this, especially because my sister and brother-in-law are they're looking in the real estate market right now to buy a house, and they're first-time home owners. And so we were talking about how there are a lot of assistance funds and grants and other monies out there specifically for first-time home buyers already. And so that kind of got me thinking, would it be totally most beneficial for this to even be just for first-time home buyers?
And that's the thing that I was trying to get to. So like an incentive to what incentivizes a person to be a first-time home buyer in North College Hill, in the city of North College Hill, over and above somewhere in Cincinnati or Mount Healthy or Coleraine and our surrounding areas. We've got to think about how we can actually draw people out to say, hey, this is really good community. And it's not just offering first-time home buyers monies, because they're readily available to anybody that completes a certain set of classes. So what incentivizes? So maybe the drawback is, I don't know, something in regard to the school or, the yard. If they can take those resources and say, I really like that North College Hill home, but I want to redo the driveway. That's the thing holding me back. I think it should be that way. Or I would like to, something. We have to, well, we don't have to, but it makes sense to really like think about what would be a draw or, just an attraction to our city.
So could it here, because I like what you're saying, could it, so, okay, for the parameters that we've already talked about really quick, just to nail them down, so that way we're not going back to them, just in case. Everybody's okay with the 5+ years that they have to agree, if we're giving them the money, that they have to stay in North College Hill for at least 5 years.
Can I just put on that, can you add to your list to talk to Mr. Dieters about how or can we make them pay it back if they don't last the 5 years?
How
we could just throwing some ideas out there. I think it's definitely follow up with Mr. Dieters, but attach it to, and what they normally do is attach it to the cost of their tax when they sell the home. Don't we have, do we know when properties are bought and sold within North College Hill?
Right. And also, if we're dealing, I'm sorry, I think I cut you off, Mary Jo. Go ahead.
But could, I don't know the timing of when we know when they're bought and sold.
Okay.
But maybe they could sell it before we knew.
Okay.
I don't know about, I don't know.
Right.
Maybe Ms. Hall would know that.
Could we make it where they could not, and I'm sorry, I probably missed this, where they have to be living in it? It can't be property that they're going to flip.
Oh yeah,
Right.
that's a good one. Yep.
Right. They have to live in the property for 5 or more years. But I mean, even then, I mean, they could take 5 years to flip it and say,
But she said living in it, like they can own it and rent it. So we don't want that either. They have to
right,
be living in it. Mhm.
right. That's yeah, yeah. Oh, that was like a given parameter of they have to live in it themselves, right? Um, but you said
What is that? Is it a lien? Do you put a lien on a title? Could we do that?
Oh yes, that's a good way. Like so when a lot of people do that. Like if you could put a lien on the title so that if you do that through Hamilton County, that's very smart. You do that through Hamilton County, and then when the property's bought or sold, they have to satisfy any of the liens put against that property, and you put a time stipulation on the lien. So then at that moment when Hamilton County, like say for instance, the time frame is 5 years, when the 5 year has reached maturity for that property, then Hamilton County will reach out to us and say, hey, they've been in this property 5 years and nothing's been sold, then we can remove the lien.
okay. And that would okay, so I'm still gonna ask Mr. Dieters just to make sure there's no like weird legal stipulations with the lien. But it's good to know that I put that down in my notes. So 5+ years, that would be done hopefully through a lien on the title. And that's a good parameter. We're all happy about that. Can I get a thumbs up from the crowd? All right. Okay. And then sorry, going back now to the other ones, I just want to make sure that we so between the city and the bank and not through the individual, I think that would also help too, because if it's through Hamilton County's, the city and the bank, then okay, then that'll help with the 5+ years as well. Does anybody have an objection to that?
No, but I have another addition. Maybe even if, and Mr. Steen can probably help me again. But maybe if the bank needs some type of, I'm going to use the word promissory note, but just something that says that that the city is bound to this whatever grant as long as the loan goes through. But maybe the bank might want to know that, like the certified part of it. I don't know how that part would work.
Yes, they would definitely need to know that if we're committing to a portion of the down payment assistance. That not necessarily a promissory note, but a commitment to the buyer that we will, our organization would fund that, and I say the word organization because in times in the past when I've dealt with people, it's been an organization, and it's been like, even if it's like a nonprofit organization, they have to establish themselves. That portion that's giving the resources is like a LLC or something like that. So there's some business undergirding that we would probably need to do in order to do that.
Okay, I'm trying to follow. So you're saying that we would need to contact banks before we even put this in action to make sure that they're okay with us putting this in action?
Well, they have to have a clear commitment. So say, for instance, the home buyer does not have the resources for the amount. They need to be like, they're oftentimes when you're going through the home buyer's process, they're watching your accounts. They're expecting you to maintain a certain amount of balance.
Right.
A lot, that is often the amount of down payment or more. And if that person or individual does not have, or buyer does not have that, we would have to offer some kind of commitment letter that says we're going to kick in this amount of funds if the sale or transaction goes through fully at this, and spell out the address, because we don't want to be committed beyond an address outside of North College Hill. So I'm saying that there may be some technicalities. I don't know if a city per se can do it, maybe an established LLC. You just get kind of sticky in the amount of like the level of commitment that you can make there. And I mean, I'd be happy to research it, or you can ask Mr. Dieters. He may know too.
Okay. I'll definitely still ask Mr. Peters about that, but I mean, I will not stop you from researching that if you want to. I would have really appreciate it, but I will definitely ask Mr. Dieters about that as well. Okay, but either way, we're all happy with the bank city contact. Okay, and then now jumping back to the stuff that we were kind of tossed up on. So for what I'm thinking, and let me know what you guys think, because I like what Miss Suxine was saying about wanting to also incentivize people to stay in North College Hill. So maybe making it a, if you have bought your property within the last X amount of time, or you are wishing to buy property in North College Hill, you may apply for this grant.
But certainly it would have to be within the same 5 years if they already own it, right?
So, right, would that 5 years start from the time that they get the grant? You know what I mean? Like, so let's say we make it.
I think we would do ourselves a better service if we did not say, okay, so I think what you're saying is, Mary Jo, I think what you're saying is that it would have to be within the 5 years of the first time home buyer or buying the home within that first 5 years of having purchased. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. I'm still trying to work through it in my head.
Work through it, yeah.
So if somebody's already lived here 10 years.
Well, the incentive of that is, so if someone's lived here 10 years and they go after a grant, right, and then they decide 2 years in, hey, I don't want to be here. I made all these modifications to my home. I'm going to sell. Well, they still have 5 years and they still have to, from the time that they receive the grant. So that it kind of, they have to decide. And if they pour back into, so if they pay it back, okay, then we've just gotten the resources back and we can exhaust that to someone else who needs it. It's still a win-win. It just makes people think twice about selling and think about the niceties that our city offers above and beyond other cities. I don't think we'll lose at offering people the grant that are outside of that 5 year first time home buyers. I mean, the goal here is retention and to gain new homeowners.
So we'd have to change the name to retention and first time home buyers. But I guess, so I feel like if we went that route, because I was not considering that before, so I'm still trying to go take it through my mind. But I almost feel like, one, we might run out of money, or two, we have to limit the amount that we limit it to 2 retentions and 5 first home buyers, or I mean, do we sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm just trying to think of how much money we would have in there and then what our limit and how many people we could really help if we, because I fear that the retention part of that money might fly out the door.
That's a possibility, and I can see where that might happen because we have many more people that are already existing in our city that probably would want to apply for it. So maybe we earmark a portion of the grant monies to retention and then the larger portion to new home buyers. And now, are we saying first time home buyers or are we saying new home buyers? Like anybody that purchases in North College Hill, or new, like first time home buyers?
I'm thinking anybody who's looking to buy in North Collegeville. I don't think the first time home buyers is 100%. I don't love that idea because I understand when it was like, I think Mary Jo, when you originally brought it up, you were saying North Collegeville is really popular for people who are buying their first house for the first few years. But I think North Collegeville has more potential than that. And we might as well let it out to people who want to stay here for a lot longer than, their first 5 years of marriage. I think that it should just be general home buyers who are going to be living in that house. And then with the retention, I think if we make it also for you've bought your home within the last like 7 years, then you're probably going to get a lot more people who are at the point of like, kind of at that point of, I'm not sure if I want to stay, I'm not sure if I want to go. And then if they're about to get this money to help them fix X, Y, and Z, that might help out too. Where I feel like if we make it for 10 or longer, I feel like we are going to get like that money is going to fly out the door because, you get a bunch of people and like we've lived here for 28 years, like longer than I've been alive. So that's why I think making it 7 or so. I don't know. I'm just throwing out that number. It doesn't have to be 7, but. All right. So making it 4, but everybody does like is anybody still married to the first time home buyers, or is everybody okay with us making it home buyers in general?
I personally like first time, but that's just me. That's
Okay.
what
So Tracy, are you thinking first time, or first time in NCH?
I was thinking first time, because maybe I don't know about NCH. Maybe I don't want to live in NCH yet, but I hear about the program, and I might accept the stipulations, the rules to it, and say, hey, I'll find a nice starter home there. Most people stay in their starter homes 10 years. I think that's about the average. And then they move on. So, when people hear about the program, it'll get them to look here, because for some families, first time buying $2,000 is half of their down payment most times. So.
Right. I just feel like though we have a lot of families who are like, so my next door neighbors, they send their kids to Walnut, and then 2 doors down send their kids to Cincinnati Hills Christian Academy, and both of them moved in not as first time home buyers, but I mean they're planning on staying here. And so I feel like, not that I mean every person who moves in has to be exactly like my neighbors or will be exactly like my neighbors, but I think if we limit it to just that first time home buyers, I'm afraid that we're going to be cutting it off to a lot of well-established families who will want to stay here and who will want to get involved with the community.
Most people who can sell their homes and move can afford to sell them and move.
Right. That's a good point.
A lot of first-time home buyers are just taking a chance. Like, I really want this. They're trying to get a piece of that American pie or whatever. For instance, if you have someone who lived in North Collegeville who was a renter, loves the neighborhood, but they still want to purchase here, they will be a first-time homeowners. I think, so.
Yeah, I mean, to Tracy's point, that's still another type of retention.
Right.
It's just that they're kind of, I'm going to use the term upgrading. They're upgrading from a renter to a homeowner, but they're still being retained in North Collegeville.
All right, so
I see that.
Let's go ahead. We'll just put it to a vote and just put it to bed, because I'm okay with either one, honestly. If you would like it to just be first-time home buyers, give me a thumbs up or something.
Miss Anderson, we're technically not allowed to vote, but
Oh, okay.
so we're just discussing.
Thanks. I appreciate
And
it.
just for information, I Googled the first time home buyers retention in the United States versus Ohio. It doesn't break it down city by city, but first time home buyers is about 11 to 15 years. It went to like a solid average in 2008 of 13 years. And then Ohio, it's 7 to 11 years.
Can you help me with that, what the length of term is regarding? I'm not, I didn't follow you, I'm sorry.
So most buyers stay in their homes in Ohio from 7 to 11 years as
Okay.
first-time home buyers, that starter home.
I got
And
you.
then the national average is 13 years, and it moved to that in 2018. And I think that was after the big housing dip. So
Okay. So then if we make it first time home buyers, then so then for the retention part of it, for the part that's excuse me, sorry, that's you can also apply to this if you've lived in your house for if you bought your house within the last 7 years. Is that also for the first time home buyers?
well, I guess that's if we agree that it should be first-time home buyers, then I would think if we're going to set a part out for retention,
Mhm.
that it would be for anyone already currently residing in North College Hill. I
Right.
guess I don't really have I'm pretty easygoing about that. It's not hard, but I think my thoughts around that is when I read the parameters of this, which I did read it just makes me feel like we're offering some things that other cities wouldn't necessarily offer in order to make our city shine and stand out, and to say we care about our people, whether that's those moving in or those already here. And I think it's important when you're thinking about home ownership to satisfy both.
Right.
Because in this market where homes are almost double, people are getting almost double for their homes, what's going to stand out? Locality or location would be it. So what does our city offer? And when we say we're a city that cares about the people that are in it, it makes us stand out, in my opinion. It's just my 2 cents. I'm advocating for just the full thought of how would we allow these monies to service us in terms of incentivizing people and retaining individuals.
Right.
So
No, yeah, I really like that part about the retention as well. I think that that's a good idea for the money. And I mean, honestly, we don't know how many people or who's going to apply for this, or I mean, we could get like one application or 10 applications.
If we do the retention thing, I feel like as soon as the word spreads, we're gonna get a lot. But what if we went like, and I don't even know how much money we're talking, but if we went to like 5 first time and 2 retention per year, maybe we could do it that way. And because I think Ms. Deucing's right. I mean, there are a lot of people that can't afford to put in, I don't know, a new furnace or a new driveway. And those are the kind of that if they got $2,000 or whatever to go on top of their own money, that would really help.
Or what if we even did like 3 first time, 2 general first time homeowners in North College Hill, and then 2 retention?
I think you're
Repeat that again.
Like,
Ms. Anderson?
I don't know how much money we have. I don't know what we're talking about. We don't even know how much we'd be offering to people. But like if we did 3, we would offer 3 grants for first time homeowners, period. This is your first home. 2 for first time in North College Hill homeowners. Maybe you've owned a house somewhere else, but just not North College Hill. And then 2 for retention. For people who have lived here for, let's say, 7 to 10 years or whatever, and you're looking for a grant to help you retain your house.
I could get on board with that, except like I said, I think the criteria is going to kill us when we start looking at all the parameters to put around all three of the, I don't know.
Well, let's just put it down. We can always change it
Yep,
later.
yep. Yeah, let's move on.
Okay, I have a list of 3 things to ask Mr. Dieters, and I feel like we made some really good progress on this. So I'm gonna put it to bed for right now, and we can continue talking about it next meeting, just because I want to move on to the. I just want to make sure that we hit the tree stuff. If everybody's okay with putting this to bed for now. Okay, cool. All right, so. For the Tree City USA, I talked to Mr. Mosby, and he sent me the link for the Tree City USA stuff. And I'm sorry, I should have had this link pulled up, but I didn't. And now I do. So I looked through it and was reading all of it and was looking at all the parameters on it. And it was basically saying that we have to have the ordinance, which we do not have yet. Sorry, I'm trying to pull the email that I'm talking about. Man. Oh, we'll find it. All right, I'll just talk about it for a second. So it was basically saying that we need to have, you know what? No, I'm not gonna be able to talk about this unless I can find it. Here it is. Okay. So the first thing was the tree board or department. And it said, by delegating tree care decisions to a professional forester, arborist, city department, city-led tree board, or some combination, city leaders determine who will perform necessary teamwork. The ordinance that we have on this currently, or the legislation that we have on this currently, is for us to put together a board. And according to this, it doesn't seem like we need a board. I'm not saying that we don't need to have one, but it seems like if we want this to get moving, it might be better to just kind of let the board idea to the side, maybe change the ordinance, because I have talked to Mr. Mosby and Ms. Hall, and they have said that Marty already does the tree care. We already have somebody who is paid for and is who is delegated to take care of the trees and to do the tree care. So that we wouldn't have to put anything together. We would just have to talk to him and see if he's okay with us putting his name down on this ordinance to say that he is the one legally in charge of the trees per the Tree City ordinance. But to do that, we would have to change our ordinance that says that we are putting together a board for this. But again, I don't even know. I know that Ms. Hall and her team are talking to, as well as myself, are talking to the Tree City USA people to try to figure out if we do need a board, if we can just have Marty, Mr. Cole do it. That's what we're trying to figure out. The second stipulation on it is the tree care ordinance, which we would put together after we get the people involved. And the third standard, a community forestry program with an annual budget of at least $2 per capita. Ms. Hall ran the numbers a while back when Miss Bailey was originally doing this. I think you said, Ms. Hall, maybe I'm speaking wrong, but I know that you said that we are definitely spending at least $2 per capita, and we're actually spending over. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're correct.
Okay, so we are already covered on that standard. We're already good. And then the fourth standard we're actually already covered on too, is an Arbor Day observance or proclamation, which we already do every year. So the only things that we really need to get together.
Miss Anderson, can you repeat those 4 standards? I'm sorry.
Do you want me to send you them?
No, just tell me what they are.
Okay, that's fine. The first one is a tree board or department. Second one's a tree care ordinance. Third one is a community forestry program with an annual budget of at least $2 per capita. And the last one is an Arbor Day observance or proclamation.
Excuse me, Marjorie, what was the third item again?
That was
Community.
forestry program, which is just a program to keep trees alive and healthy or to tear them down when they're dead, that kind of stuff, with an annual budget of at least $2 per capita. So just that we're spending at least $2 per capita on tree care per year, which Ms. Hall said that we spend over $2 per capita already. So we already fit that bill. So my question for you guys would be, if we can, if we would be allowed to, per the Tree City USA standards, be allowed to not have a board, but instead delegate Mr. Cole to be our tree board department head. Would you guys be okay with that? Or are you guys very much married to the idea of the board?
I guess I'm probably the oddball, but I kind of like the board idea. From the perspective of, there's very few things I feel like it should be one person's decision.
Right. No, and I like the idea of a board in the sense of getting community members involved, maybe getting outside of the community members involved, getting people who are already involved kind of in charge of stuff that they may not have a voice in yet. I'm just not sure, because I mean, we've been talking for months now about who could be on this board, who could potentially fill in this position, who could help us with this. I just don't want this to be like another government program that gets talked about in committee.
Can we write up something and have the administration post it on the Facebook page and post it on the website, say, hey, if you're I hate to say tree hugger, but if you're a tree hugger, would you like to be on this board, kind of thing, right? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that have an interest in that.
Right. The only thing is, per the ordinance, which again, I'm sorry guys, I should have had this pulled up before. I'm pretty sure it says that we have to have
an arborist, right?
Yeah, an arborist.
So now, include that in the post, right?
Okay. All right. Do you guys?
How many positions do we still have to fill?
I think all of them. I think all of them.
So I did ask my neighbor, and he said he'd be very interested in that. So that's one slot.
You know what? We're making steps during this meeting.
I mean, he works at a nursery, so I mean he has knowledge. He's just not an arborist.
Man, I know I have it from Miss Ewald, and I found it. Okay. I'm just trying to find. So,
Miss Nichols, did you have? I think Miss Nichols had somebody too, didn't she? Is she still on?
I think, yeah. The people who need to be on the board are a member appointed by the mayor, one member appointed by city council, one professional arborist, and 2 resident elects. Those are the members who need to be on the board. So if your neighbor wants to be on it, then that can either be a resident elect or it can be a person appointed by city council.
If he's the arborist, he could be the arborist. Did you say he was an arborist before, Mary Jo?
He is not an arborist. He works at a nursery, but he's not an arborist.
Okay, someone did give me another name. I'll call him to see if he's still active. He told me when he gave me the name, he said he didn't think he was. but it won't hurt to check.
Okay. I mean, if we're in love with the board, I'm totally fine with doing the board. I personally think it's a good idea. I just want to be able to move forward with it and not sit on it. So I was just trying to give us like an easy, like, hey, if we like really want to move forward on this, we can have Mr. Cole do it. But I'm fine with the board. Okay. So for the member appointed by the mayor, Mayor Nichols, you're talking to an arborist, and then do you have an idea for somebody that you would want to appoint possibly?
I was thinking about Carla Belcher, but I don't know if she'd do it because she
No,
loves that outdoorsy planting.
Well, that's actually who I was gonna, if you weren't gonna say her, I was gonna say we could appoint her, but no, you take her and we have Mary Jo's, so you're good.
There's
Yeah,
somebody else at the school. I'm not sure how close she lives or if she would be interested, but I
Okay.
do believe she helps Carla sometimes because she actually is the one who did the little rain. They have a rain, I hate to call it forest, but a little area that they created on school property.
Right.
He seems to be instrumental in that.
Okay. Yeah. And then the two resident elects. So are those people who we elect, or what is that exactly?
So maybe that could be the people that we get from the post on the
Okay.
on the page, right?
Or your neighbor.
Or yeah.
Okay. So do you guys want me to write a post? And then I can ask Mr. Mosby to post it, or we can motion for him at the next council meeting to post it. What would you guys like to do?
You can write it. I'll help you. We can work on it together if you want. I don't care.
Would you guys like Mary Jo and I to run it by you guys at the next city community development meeting, or do you guys just want us to motion it at the next meeting? Are you guys okay with what we decide that it says, or would you guys like us to run it by you first?
How about if we put it together and we email it to them and they email us back if they have a problem with it?
Perfect. All right, I like that idea. All right.
But don't email everyone, just email us.
Right. Okay. So I'm moving quick because I have 8 more minutes. So I'm moving on. I'm sorry. The comprehension plan. Mr. Mosby's not here, but he kind of already gave an update on this at the last council meeting. He had a very smart young man from, I think, NKU, who was working on some graduate program, something. He was telling me about him, and it sounded awesome. And Mr. Mosby was going to give an update at this meeting about it, but he's not here, and I don't know what that update was. Let me look at my notes. In my notes from when I talked to him in May about this, I put closing date / bid opening June 15th. Miss Hall, do you know what I meant by that? Or do you know what that means?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
So I talked to Mr. Mosby about this in May, about the comprehension plan update, and I wrote in my notes to talk about a closing date / bid opening on June 15th. But I don't remember what that means or why I wrote that.
The only thing that I can think of is that I know the comprehensive plan went out for bid, if you will. Okay. So people are applying to, submit their request to us. So, and that closing date could be tomorrow.
Okay.
That sounds like what that is. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay, I think you're right. Yeah. So the reason the comprehension plan is on the agenda was because Mr. Mosby was going to give an update on that. And basically just tell us what our next steps are. I'm not totally sure what those next steps are. I'm hoping he'll let us know either at the next council meeting or at our next recreation committee meeting. And then obviously Mr. Mosby isn't here for the city administrator update. I had something for new business and now I cannot think of what it was. I'm sorry. I think I got an email about it today, maybe. Oh, okay. So I'm sorry, I just learned about this today, and that's why I didn't put it on the agenda. But the National Night Out is something that a lot of communities host, where they'll kind of have a community event where they'll have the fire and the police involved, and the community can come and kind of meet the fire and police and all of those members. I was kind of thinking that might be something that we as council would really want to kind of back with maybe a motion at the next council meeting for administration to kind of plan that and host that, for the city to host that as sort of a way to bring awareness to the fire levy that's coming up, so that people know that it's coming up, so that people know that they can vote on it, and that they can also then come and ask questions if they would like to. And also, I just think that's pretty awesome. That's a pretty awesome idea for members of the community to get out, and for our fire and police workers to get out and meet the community, and vice versa. So what my idea was to motion at the next council meeting as sort of a kind of sign of council's approval of the National Night Out event for North College Hill to host the community event. What do you guys think? Does anybody have an opposition to it? Any of the three Matt Miller Novaks want to chime in?
There's three of me?
Kind of scary.
We used to do this, so I think it's a really good idea. I remember, I know obviously in the past couple of years we didn't, but we did. North College Hill used to do it. I think it's a really great idea.
Okay. And I think especially for council to kind of like motion for it to happen as kind of like a seal of our approval, I think is great, especially because I know that a lot of people get frustrated because they feel as though council isn't forthcoming with things like votes for levies. And so this could almost be our way of saying, hey, there's a vote coming up, come meet our fire and police task force, and well, not task force, but come meet our fire and police members and see what this levy is all about. So yeah, if you guys are okay with that, I'll motion at the next council meeting for this event. And that's all I had. I'm sorry, I moved really quickly that last like 10 minutes. I just wanted to get those last three things in.
So Ms. Anderson, I don't use Google Docs a lot. If I just click on save on this and then close it, you'll have access to the minutes, correct?
You don't have to click anything. I actually already have access.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're good. And I'm yeah, you're good. So, okay, really quickly for just a summary, because I talked really quickly and I need my own summary. So I will be talking to Mr. Dieters about the CRA legality, about the commitment letter, especially with specific addresses in North College Hill with the banks, and how and can we make them pay it back if they do not stay for 5 years, and could we possibly use a lien on the title for that. For the Tree City USA, and I didn't get to talk about Taking Root, I'm sorry, I'll put that on the next agenda. Taking Root possibly has money for us to replant, correct me if I'm wrong about saying this, but I'll possibly have money to help us replant the trees on Sundale.
Are you speaking about a grant
I'm not
for
sure.
tree planting?
I was just going based on the emails that I've gotten about taking root.
So my understanding of that program is that I think it's a shared program between North College Hill and Mount Healthy.
Right.
And there's like a certain allocation of trees that we can receive, if that's even the right way to put it, and that we can look into potentially replacing the trees that were cut down on Sundale for the street widening there.
Okay. So that's basically an awesome summary of what I was going to talk about taking root. But I'll of course add both of those back onto the next to our next committee agenda. And then the comprehensive plan, I'm hoping that Mr. Mosby can give us an update. And then for National Night Out, I will motion, and then also another, the Tree City USA board request to be posted on Facebook. All right. I think we got it. That was a great meeting, guys. If anybody else has anything you want to say, if not, I'm ready to adjourn. Hand it over to Matt. All right, all yours, Mr. Miller Novak. Thank you.
Well, Brian Fells is trying to get in and he cannot. I don't know. I sent him a link that I got for today's meeting, and I also don't know that I got an executive session link yet.
Didn't.
Mary Jo.
Hey,
okay.
Mr. Novak, I got in via my tablet. It might have been something with my phone. Kept booting me off of this meeting. Can you hear me?
Okay. Well, yeah, I can hear you. There's 3 of me. We all hear you. Okay. I don't know why there's 3 of me. I can't figure that out either. I tried to leave.
Mr. Miller Novak, it's Keith from ICRC. If you sent your link to other people, they're going to show up as you. So I can rename I can rename people, but your link is specifically yours. That's why that's happening.
Brian should have been sent a link.
So you got Chief Shrand on here also. That's probably one of the Miller Novaks.
Okay, let me no one else talk for a second. Let me just make sure I get this one right. Chief Shrand. Is it SCHRAND?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, and then the other Matthew Miller Novak?
It's Chief Fells, FELS.
Okay. Okay, there we go. I can't promise that this is not going to have some issue because we have 3 people on the same link. That has been known to happen, but right now it seems like it's doing okay. So.
All right.
But the real Mr. Miller Novak, if you'd like to get started, you're good to go.
Okay. I'm not sure what's real anymore. I don't know that either. The Chiefs couldn't have been a better version of me anyways. But I'll go ahead and get going here, folks. So you should have gotten the agenda for today. I have that up. So it's pretty short, as you can see. And I did not take meeting minutes last time. I can't remember who said they were taking notes. I don't know if anybody
sent them to you. I sent them to you right after the meeting.
Okay. I'm like actually looked back today and I couldn't find them. What date was that? Do you remember? Let me look. Would have been the 10th, right?
Yeah, but it might have gone to your spam because I told you I sent it from my real work.
You know what? I just found them. I can forward them to everybody real quick.
maybe we should just wait till the next meeting.
I guess we can. And I'll take minutes this meeting here.
Cool, thanks.
Which also means there'll be long pauses of awkward silence while I'm typing. Okay, so well then we'll table meeting minutes. So did everybody get a copy of the agenda? Yay, nay?
I did not, Mr. Novak, but I can follow along.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Well, what we have on there, the first item was the finance topic, which is the April 2021 report, which I'll pass that to Ari when we get there. Another one is grass assessment, and the other issue is salary ordinance, which is why both of the chiefs are here so they could weigh in, as we discussed last time in executive session, about the salary ordinance. My understanding is, and Ms. Hall, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to yield. Is everybody fine with the agenda? Does anybody need to add anything or suggest that we add anything?
Nope.
Okay, great. So before I get going, just from my notes, who's in attendance today? Do we have everybody here? Marjorie, you're here.
I'm here.
Miss Underwood here.
She's not answering, but I see her logged in.
Okay. I heard her in the last meeting. Maybe she just have an issue. Ms. Blythe, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Ms. Dukestein? Ms.
here.
Dukestein not here?
No,
Okay,
I'm here.
Ms. Dukestein.
Yeah.
Okay. And you are officially on this committee now, correct? I think, right?
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Zorb, I know you're here. We've talked.
I'm here.
Ms. Hall is here.
I'm here.
Chief Schran.
I'm here.
And last but not least, Chief Shrells.
I'm here.
Anybody else I missed?
Tracy.
Oh. Sorry, Tracy. Okay. All right. Well, Ms. Hall, can I get you going on the finance topic, the April 2021 report? I know I did get your email last minute. Sorry, I was in a
No
court
worries.
until very late in Claremont County and barely got to this meeting in time. So I'm going to yield the floor to you, okay?
Sure, no problem. So I was able to get this report together for this meeting. There are just a couple of issues with our accounting system that our IT person will have to hop in and deal with tomorrow. So I will be able to get the reports to you at that time. For whatever reason, the way that they were printing it wasn't printing everything, all of the line items that were necessary to have a complete report. So my apologies on that. We're working on getting that issue resolved, okay? Am I able to share my screen, Keith?
Yes, I can make that happen. Hold on. You should be able to do that now.
Okay, can everyone see my screen?
I got it.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're just going to go over just very briefly the April financials. Again, I roll these up so that we're not looking at each line item to make it a little bit easier for us to kind of discuss what's going on. So for April, the first half of our real estate income tax, not income taxes, I'm sorry, our real estate taxes came in. That was approximately $886,000 across all funds that came through. So as you can see, for all funds, we're looking at 1.4 million in revenue. And again, that jump is due to the real estate tax distribution that came through in April. So like I said, in the previous meeting, our revenues would start to pick up right about now because of that. And as you can see, for our year to date, our revenues are a little ahead of our expenses. Looking at our general fund revenues compared to expenses through April. Again, you can see that we have a bump in revenue for this month of April. I apologize, April is not showing down there, but that third column there is for April. Again, the revenue has increased due to the receipt of the first half of the real estate taxes. We did have a slight bump in expenses this month for IT services, 22,000 of which was for updating our servers to make sure that we had a more secure network at the city. And again, just a rough overview of all of our revenues in the general fund. You can see how each line is broken out and how our revenues have come through. Again, we have about $98,000 in the tax line. That includes our income taxes as well as our real estate taxes in that line item there. Let's see. I don't see anything else that terribly stands out. We did receive a little bit additional in fines and forfeitures again. So we are now collecting a lot of our court fees directly into our general fund. So we, as many of you know, we are hiring for the mayor's court clerk. So reports on that I cannot speak to at this point. I'm not sure if you received your April report or not, but those reports may look a little different just because of the way that the credit card processing has changed. So I'm just giving you a little heads up if there's any change with that report. We're still working out the kinks and getting, someone that position filled and everything, and making sure that we are, reporting correctly on all of the collections over there. So as far as our expenses are concerned, there's nothing really too crazy going on for April. Again, just 2 payroll periods there. So, expenses are pretty much on pace. And if you look at the other expenses, the reason why there is that jump there, once again, is for the IT expenses that came through in April. And finally, just the breakdown of the overtime. I just want to reiterate that, for May, we did have a large payout that we budgeted for a retiring officer. We are expecting another officer to retire in the next couple months. I'm thinking somewhere around August. So there will be another bump as well that was budgeted in the overtime line item. So right now, this is just standard overtime for all of our departments. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and raise them right now.
Ms. Hall, I have one. So on this screen that you're on right now, so are you saying this does include the retirement payout, or it's only overtime?
This is strictly overtime year to date. This does not include the retirement payout. That will be reflected on the May report.
Okay. And then can you elaborate a little bit on the IS server? So was it a server upgrade or just a software upgrade?
The servers were upgraded.
So like we got new hardware.
Correct, yes. So those, I believe, and I want to say that those were upgraded toward the end of 2020, but for whatever reason, the invoice came through and hit our IT line item in the current year. Any other questions? Okay. There aren't any other questions. That's all I have on my report for April. There's nothing super crazy going on this so far this month. So,
Mrs. Hall,
yes.
what does PW mean on your chart?
Oh, yes, that's Public Works.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. It's Ms. I'm divorced, FYI. Just throwing that out there. Thank you.
Ms. Hall. I'm sure it was his fault. And let's go to grass assessment. I think we're done. We can move on, right? Any other questions for Ms. Hall?
I said Ms. I know she's divorced. Thanks.
Okay. Let's move on from Ms. Hall's divorce. Anybody have any other questions? Yeah, no. Okay. Like I'm scared now. So Ari Hall, can you please give the grass assessment presentation?
Yes. So I believe I emailed every one of you. Correct me if I'm wrong. There was a grass assessment that was sent out. The rules were sent out that will be, I guess, council will need to approve that so that we can send those over to the county auditor. If you didn't, just let me know. I can resend it out.
Okay. Is that all on that issue?
Yes, I don't think there's anything I need to really point out. I think there's like 2, 4, 6, 8 properties on there that were assessed grass cutting fees. So.
Okay. Well, good. So that will end up taking it to our salary ordinance, and then we're going to use executive session. At least I plan on motion for, someone else doesn't, to discuss pay for our unclassified employees, which are our non-union employees, which are only a couple handfuls of.
Mr. Matt Miller Novak, were we supposed to have a printout or bring a printout of the salary ordinance, or we should just have the old one?
Just have the one from last time, Ms. Blythe.
Oh. Do you remember the date on that?
Well, our last meeting, because I had to go back and find where those notes, so I could tell you it was May 10th. So
Okay.
It's probably in your email box from like May 10, 9, 8, 7, somewhere around there, the week before.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
May I hop in real quick? I did share that with this committee via Google Sheets. So any changes would be automatically updated. You can still use that same share link to see the updated ordinance.
Really quick, if you don't mind, am I allowed to come into this executive session since my mom is a member of a non-classified? She's a non-classified worker now.
I don't think you are.
You
Or
don't
can I
think she
excuse
is?
myself just
I
in
do
case?
not. I think it would be an ethics violation because her mom is a direct line item. She's not covered like in a group.
I don't know that that's true at all. She
I
just
think
can't
I'm
vote
just
on it.
not, yeah, I'm just not allowed to vote on it, but I think I'm allowed to be
And
in
she
there.
shouldn't.
If it
And
makes
she shouldn't be talking about her mom. But I
But
don't
depending
agree
on how
to
we
that.
talk about it. I don't
Well,
know.
she should just not weigh in on her mother. The ethics rules are you're not supposed to vote for any issue that you have your own. I don't even know that her mother's salary counts. It's not a spouse. It's not her own. Number one, I don't know that that's a condition for a conflict anyways, because it's her mother. It's not her own
So maybe
coffers. It's
she
not a
should talk to the
spouse.
ethics committee.
But well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, all I know is what is, even if it was her spouse, the issue is she's not allowed to vote on it, and she's not allowed to use her position for pressure or anything like that. There's no rule against her hearing.
But
So
she
when her
can't
mom comes
deliberate,
up,
right?
but she can deliberate on everybody else's. She
I'll
just can't
say-
deliberate on her own mother's.
I will voluntarily stay quiet on my mom's.
Yeah, that's fine. Or just advocate for your mom to get a pay cut, and then you really have nothing to worry about.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a good plan. Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome. Tell your mom I said that. All right. Well, does anybody want a motion to enter executive session? Yeah or nay?
Are we going to be sent a separate link for that?
I'm working on it now.
Thank you.
Well, in the meantime, you know what? Just so it's clear, I'll go ahead and motion. I motion that we, and while Mary Jo's putting together a link and all that, I motion that we enter executive session under RC 121.22 G1 to discuss the employment and compensation of multiple unclassified employees.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, second from Ms. Blythe. We'll just kind of go around. Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Ms. Dukestein, Ms. Dukestein.
Did you hear me? I said yes twice.
Okay, no, I didn't. I did now though.
Sorry about that. Okay.
It's okay. Ms. Dukestein says yes. Ms. Underwood, yes. I will vote yes. Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Okay, that's everybody. So passes by unanimous vote. So we will just sit here, and as soon as Mary Jo has a link up, we will exit, enter back into
I-
that link.
I think it's sent. Let me know if you got
Okay.
it.
Cool. And then for people in the public or TV land, we will go to executive session. When we're done in executive session, we will come back and do any business that needs to be required to done. If there's no business that needs to be required for us to do, then I guess we'd be adjourning. All right. Did everybody get the link?
Hey, I'm not seeing it on my end. But I'm refreshing here currently.
I have an email, but it does not have a link in it.
Oh, there we go. I just got it. Let's see.
I did too. Mine looks like it's part of a picture. Just I don't know if there's like a download images thing or something like that. You might need to right click on, but
If you scroll down about midway, I think it says join Zoom meeting, real big, maybe.
Yes, thank you. It is really big. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
okay. Well, it sounds like everybody has it, so I will see everybody in there.
Hi, Keith. Did you fall asleep?
No, ma'am, still here.
All right.
All right, is everybody back in?
Yeah, we are.
Yes.
Do you want me to motion to end the executive session?
Sure, yeah, you can do that
All right, I motion to end the executive session
and re-enter regular session.
and re-enter regular session. Thank you.
Okay, I'll go ahead and second. So I'm gonna put in the meeting minutes that, I mean, anybody opposed to getting on with their life? Right? Anybody? No? Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and put in the meeting minutes that we re-entered regular session at like 9:30. Just to put on the record, no official action was taken in an executive session. Instead, it's likely, I guess, Mary Jo, I'll just inform you now, obviously, it's likely we're gonna have to continue executive session to talk about the salaries of our unclassified employees. So please do what you gotta do with ICRC to set up a channel for executive sessions in our July meeting. And other than that, does anybody want to move to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Mary Jo moves. Erica seconds. Anybody opposed to adjourning?
No.
Okay. And we will consider it a unanimous vote to adjourn. All right, everybody. Thank you a lot for all the hard work. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.